Coca-Cola launches Coke with U.S. cane sugar, following Trump's push. Coca-Cola is shaking up the beverage world with a bold new move that's sparking both excitement and debate. The company has announced plans to launch a version of its iconic drink sweetened with U.S.-grown cane sugar, a decision that's been directly linked to pressure from none other than former President Donald Trump. But here's where it gets controversial. While the switch might seem like a simple tweak, it's raising questions about health, economics, and the influence of political figures on corporate decisions. And this is the part most people miss. The real story isn't just about sugar, but about the ripple effects this change could have on American agriculture, consumer habits, and even public health debates. Let's dive into the details. The announcement came just days after Trump took to his social media platform, Truth Social, to boast that he'd convinced Coca-Cola to use real cane sugar in its U.S. products. Initially, the company played it coy, telling NBC News last week that they appreciated Trump's enthusiasm but offered no confirmation. However, during a recent earnings call, Coca-Cola finally confirmed the news. A cane sugar version of Coke will hit shelves later this year as part of its innovation agenda. The company emphasized that this new offering will expand its trademark Coca-Cola product line, which already includes sweetened beverages like tea, lemonade, and vitamin water. But why the sudden shift? For years, Coca-Cola in the U.S. has been sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, HFCS, while cane sugar has been used in other markets like Mexico and parts of Europe. The U.S. version of cane sugar Coke, often called Mexican Coke by enthusiasts, has long been a niche product, imported from abroad. Now, Coca-Cola is bringing the sweetener closer to home, with cane sugar sourced from American farms in Texas, Florida, and Louisiana. However, domestic production only accounts for 30% of the U.S. sugar supply, with the rest coming from sugar beets or imports. This raises a critical question. Is this move truly a win for American farmers, or could it backfire by increasing reliance on foreign sugar and hurting corn farmers to supply HFCS? The health angle adds another layer of complexity. While some consumers swear by cane sugar as a cleaner option, experts like Dr. Daryush Muzaffarian, a cardiologist and director of the Food is Medicine Institute, argue that the metabolic effects of cane sugar and HFCS are nearly identical. Both are roughly 50% fructose and 50% glucose, and both contribute equally to risks like obesity, diabetes, and high blood pressure. The body processes them the same way, Muzaffarian explains. There's no nutritional benefit to switching. Yet, the perception of natural ingredients often drives consumer choices, even when the science tells a different story. The Corn Refiners Association has already pushed back, calling the switch nonsensical in light of Trump's pro-farmer rhetoric. They warn that replacing HFCS with cane sugar could cost thousands of jobs in food manufacturing, depress farm incomes, and boost sugar imports, all without improving public health. This clash highlights a deeper tension. Is Coca-Cola responding to genuine consumer demand, or simply bowing to political pressure? And what does this mean for the broader Make America Healthy Again initiative, a Trump-aligned movement that has urged food companies to ditch artificial dyes and other additives? Interestingly, Trump's relationship with Coca-Cola isn't new. In 2012, he famously joked on Twitter that Coke wasn't happy with him, but that's okay, I'll still keep drinking that garbage. He also once claimed that Diet Coke makes you happy. Now, with a custom-bottled commemorative Coke presented to him at Mar-a-Lago, the partnership feels more personal than ever. But does this mean the new product is a genuine health win, or just a marketing stunt? As the debate unfolds, one thing is clear. Coca-Cola's decision is more than a sweetener swap. It's a case study in how politics, consumer trends, and corporate strategy collide. What do you think? Is this a smart move for the company, or a politically motivated gamble? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Trump's choice of Coke, a nostalgic vision or a step backwards? Imagine a world where your choice of soda is limited to just one type of Coke, nothing else. That's the paradoxical situation we find ourselves in, thanks to President Donald Trump's economic policies. While it might seem like a small victory that he pushed Coca-Cola to use cane sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup, the broader implications of his agenda are far more concerning. Let's give Trump some credit for this move. It's not every day that a major beverage company agrees to use an ingredient that consumers can actually recognize. But why should we be limited to just this one alternative? Why can't we have the choice between the regular Coke we see everywhere and the imported Mexican Coke that's been hard to come by? The irony is that this decision comes at a time when the rest of Trump's economic policies are moving in the opposite direction. Experts argue that switching to cane sugar doesn't make Coke healthier, and I'm inclined to agree. I stopped drinking Coke decades ago, and even a small sip now feels like a sugar rush from a dozen bags of Peeps. But that's not the main point. In the 1980s, soda companies shifted to high fructose corn syrup because government subsidies made it much cheaper than sugar, which was subject to high import tariffs. This protectionist policy led to fewer choices and a less appealing product. Now, Trump's economic program is built on similar principles, with tariffs aimed at making foreign goods too expensive, thus boosting domestic industries. While I'm not an economist, the early signs aren't promising. Just this week, major automakers like General Motors and Stellantis reported lower earnings, largely due to the tariff regime. But what's most intriguing is the broader vision behind Trump's economic blueprint. It reflects a nostalgic desire for a self-sufficient America, where most goods are produced domestically and primarily for domestic consumption. In practical terms, this means envisioning a planned economy where Americans have fewer choices but more low-paying jobs, without the protections of unions or regulatory oversight. This approach challenges a fundamental aspect of American identity: the country as a consumer paradise where shelves are filled with an array of products and innovations. Think about it. The cheapest and most efficient electric cars are now being made in China. But under Trump's tariffs, these cars are effectively blocked from the U.S. market. You can buy a cheap BYD sedan in France or Uruguay, but Americans are left to read about them in magazines. Isn't this the opposite of what we've always assumed about America? When have we ever had to look enviously at other countries because the best innovations were available to their consumers, but not to ours? Sure, there's a risk that cheap Chinese cars could flood the market and hurt the American EV industry, but the same could have happened with Japanese cars in the 1970s. Imagine a future where French wines and Italian shoes are reserved for the wealthy, while big box stores stock overpriced, domestically made products of inferior quality. Delicious Mexican Coke for the elite, high fructose corn syrup for the rest of us. How long would it take for a class war to erupt? And what kind of government would we need to maintain order? It's all speculative, of course. But I remember the time when the conservative movement was built on rejecting Trump's core ideas, with intellectual Republicans citing Friedrich Hayek's The Road to Serfdom, to warn against a future where Americans would be drones for the industrial state, deprived of choice and innovation. Now, somehow, many conservatives support an economic vision that favors state intervention over the free market. It's a risky gamble, but at least we'll get to choose our Coke.